It's 2023 and it's one of my favorite times of the year. Do you know why?
No.
Because of New Year's resolutions.
You like New Year's resolutions?
Yes. Yeah, I love setting goals, right? So setting goals and building these objectives that I get to tie in with my passions is one of my favorite things in life. So it's actually one of the biggest reasons why I wanted to become a financial advisor is because I love doing it. So I want everybody to do it too. It's
Okay.
kind of
That makes sense.
little ambition there. But
Yeah. But the problem, I guess, and why maybe I'm not as big of a fan of them is because I tend to have a little less success with New Year's resolutions. And we've found before that that's common with other people as well, that, keeping with them seems to be challenging.
Yeah. Yeah. But the thing is, we can help out with that. I can help you out with that too if you want to. Yeah.
Might need you this year because it's frustrating. I think, and a lot of people, that's the thing, you get to the point where you don't even want to set them because if you're just going to break it anyway, it feels kind of overwhelming.
Right. Yeah, it definitely can. But I mean, there's, like I said, many things that we can do to help. And I'm pretty excited to get that started. So just to do a little bit of a recap from last year's New Year's podcast that we did, in case you missed it, right? So only about 9 to 12% of folks that set New Year's resolutions actually accomplish them.
And we talked about last year that we gave some kind of feedback on what you can do to help yourself meet those. One of those was setting what are called SMART goals. And if you've never looked that up, you can Google it. But it allows you to kind of put some detail to your goals. So it's not just, I want to lose weight. Well, you can set littler goals along the way to help yourself achieve that final goal. And it's a little more achievable, a little less overwhelming, and you're more likely to stick with it.
Yeah. So, make sure to go back and check out that podcast for more details. But that's the simple thing of it is it's these two easy things, right, that will help you kind of improve the odds in your favor, really. So focusing on the things that you can change is the other big tip there, right? So a lot of us, mainly focus on the things that we can't change.
Yes.
Like, the stock market, right? Or, how much they pay me at work or, things like that, right?
Even saying I want to lose weight, you can't necessarily control what weight you're going to end up at.
Right.
So focusing on what you can change, which are your habits, your daily choices, is much more manageable.
Absolutely. So again, two simple tips there to help improve on that. Check out the podcast again from last year. The other thing that we wanted to recap from last year is, that if you're going to set out, these New Year's resolutions, then one of the biggest things that you have to plan for is obstacles, right?
Yes.
Because that's one of the biggest things that's going to slow you down, if not completely, knock over your resolution.
And we found some patterns to what tends to be an obstacle for people. One of the biggest ones is just losing motivation. Forming a habit takes time. So fighting that urge to just stop immediately into it is really important. So you've got to find something that can keep you motivated. For me, that's accountability. I found recently that I will not get up super early and go to the gym for me, but I will for my kids. So my son came to me and was like, hey, I'd like to go start working out. Will you go with me? And it wasn't nearly as hard for me to get up knowing that I was helping him out.
Oh, yeah.
And so that, know what tends to kill your motivation and plan ahead for avoiding that.
Exactly. And again, the whole point in this is, making that New Year's resolution, making your goal kind of bulletproof as far as obstacles come. So the other one is just being too busy, right? As well as, people changing their minds about what they wanted to achieve, right? So that can happen as well. So, with that, having thought something out completely as far as what you really want to accomplish and refining that will, I think, help folks out to not waver so much on what they want to achieve.
I saw a video on Instagram of all things the other day, and this guy had said, okay, take a piece of paper, write 10 things down that you'd like to accomplish, and then pick 2 that you feel like you'd like to accomplish first. Let those be what you chase, and then break that down into the steps you need. So going back to, let's say you want to have savings, more savings by the end of the year. Define what that looks like and then break it down into monthly amounts that you need to put back or per paycheck amounts. And if you have the ability to have that direct deposited out of your paycheck instead of having to remember to do it yourself, automating it, then do that. It's about breaking it down into bite-sized pieces instead of looking only at the long-term goal.
Yeah. And maybe tying something that's very special to you to that goal, right? Because maybe you can say, oh yeah, having, $2,000 in savings, right? But maybe you don't really have a pressing enough need that will motivate you enough to get to that goal. So maybe it's okay having those savings so you can do X thing with that.
Right. Setting up a reward in advance.
Exactly.
Mm-hmm. And then the last one is there were 11% of people in that same study that said they just didn't feel like they had the support they needed. And that's frustrating because sometimes you don't have control over that. But if you reach out, I think often when we're struggling with something, we internalize, we separate, and we don't share our struggles with others. Most people, I would say, probably have more support than they realize if they would just reach out to somebody.
Yeah, that's so true. And there's all kinds of groups that these days, online groups or, even now in communities that will be able to support you in just about any goal that you can think of out there, especially the main ones that we think of, like losing weight, like financial resolutions, that kind of thing. But I think it's time for a little trivia.
Okay.
So can you remember the 3 financial goals that we recommended for people last year?
I'm going to be honest, I don't remember all of them, but I would bet somewhere on there was savings because almost everybody I know is trying to save money. Was that one of them?
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Hey,
yeah.
I got it.
Yeah. So having emergency savings was by far on top of that list, right? And one of the biggest reasons for that is that we want to make sure that folks have the ability to have an emergency without going into debt, right? So we're talking about maybe your refrigerator crapping
I love how he
out
brings
on you.
that one up. So he knows this year has been that year for me, right? This year has been the
Every
year
emergency.
where everything is just like blowing up. It feels like I've had a fridge that went out and what's hilarious is I thought it went out. So I moved it out to the garage. It's actually still kicking, by the way.
Okay.
The new one that I bought to replace it has had multiple needs for repair. Go figure. We've had some car issues, new tires. We've got a new driver in the house in about 2 weeks.
That's
so we've
scary.
had an expensive year, braces, things like that. But thankfully, our goal last year was emergency savings, and we really hit that hard early in the year.
All right.
So although our emergency savings is not where I like it to be, I didn't have to go into a bunch of credit card debt.
Yeah.
So that's a great goal to have if that was one of yours. So that was one of them. But what were the other 2?
Yeah. So the other 2 were life insurance and then talking to a financial coach.
Okay.
So life insurance, again, kind of like the emergency fund, is a contingency method, a contingency strategy, right? So it's something that you do so that in case of an emergency, right, you're not having
your family's not stuck.
Right. Yeah, you're not putting yourself in a horrible situation.
And you've had one of those really kind of gut wrenching stories this past year about why life insurance is so important, and I'd love for you to tell just a little bit about that real quick.
Yeah, I think one of the saddest things, or one of the most kind of captivating things about this was that the couple that had happened. So they were pretty young, right? So the husband was 36, the wife was 33, and they were very healthy. We got life insurance for them a couple of years back, and they got express underwriting, meaning they didn't have to do really
Any of the testing,
right?
Really.
Yeah, and that usually goes into getting life insurance. So a year later, the wife suddenly passed away. It happened in a matter of days, right? And with all of that, I mean, they had so many goals that they were working towards with retirement, with savings, and with travel plans, all kinds of different things. They also had some liabilities and that kind of thing that they would have been stuck with, right? And that he would have had to figure out, okay,
while grieving.
Exactly, while grieving. And so luckily for them, I mean, they were in a situation where that the financial aspect of things wasn't a concern because we had gone ahead and prepared beforehand.
And I'm kind of a story on this cautionary tale too. I'm 43. And 2 years ago, I increased my life insurance just because I thought, I've got a higher earning potential. I need to have a little extra coverage. So I applied, I got coverage. And then 6 months later, I developed symptoms for rheumatoid arthritis, which would make it a lot more costly for me to get life insurance now. So life insurance is one of those things that when it's on your mind, you need to get it taken care of. Don't delay. So if that's one of your resolutions for this year to increase it, please, please, please make that a priority.
Yeah. The younger you are, the relatively less expensive it will be.
Yeah. So we've talked about some of the things that historically have held people back. We've talked about some of the goals that people tend to have, but how do you make financial independence more than just a resolution?
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, and this is kind of a difficult thing to talk about when we look back on 2022, because when we look back on it, it was a pretty big bully, right?
Yeah.
So we had
I love that you call it that, because that's exactly how it feels.
Yes, exactly. Yeah, with all the emergency things that happened to you, then for a lot of us, we feel kind of like it took our lunch money, right? That we've had the highest inflation that we've had in over 40 years, right? So that has already been very taxing on everybody's wallet, and then the stock market, took a dive into bear market territory. So everybody's looking at their retirement accounts, getting freaked out, because it's like, okay, what do? You can't go to stocks, you can't go to bonds. They're both
There's nowhere
horrible.
to hide.
Right, exactly. There's nowhere to hide in the market. But by putting in, certain changes and adjustments, we can put an end to that, right, and have a more successful 2023, right? So you prepared with emergency savings for that, and that's why you had what would have been or a much better 2022 than what it would have been otherwise if you weren't prepared for it.
Right.
So, I mean, the thing that we want to make sure that you know is that you have so much to look forward to in the new year. So if 2022 wasn't a great year for you, then let it go, put that in the rearview mirror, and just start anew today. Right?
Yes.
There's so many new opportunities to be able to capture.
Yes, I love the quote that you had put in here for us. There's a Thomas Edison quote. When he was inventing the light bulb, people were like, man, why didn't you give up? And he basically just said, listen, I just figured out 10,000 ways that it didn't work. And I just kept going until I figured out the one that does. If you feel like you've done 10,000 things and they haven't worked, okay, well, there's 10,001, 2, 3, 4, 5. You don't have to just stop and give up, because that's when you really capture the loss, for lack of a better way to put it. You capture that loss and you continue carrying it out. But you have the ability to make changes. We are creatures that are capable of change.
That's right.
So apply that principle and overcome it.
Right. And the principle is that failure is the road to success. Right. And the other quote from Thomas Edison that I really love is that our greatest weakness lies in giving up. Right. The most certain way to succeed is always to just try one more time. So that the moment that we give up, that's when we literally just destroy any chance for success.
And the way you talk to yourself matters in this too. When we talk about taking this from resolution to more than a resolution, that means we're making it our way of life. So if you tell yourself, I'm good with money on a regular basis, it's just that I need to learn more, then you open yourself up to the idea of growing in that space. When you make these your way of life. So you tell yourself, I have solid relationships. I have a great career, even if you don't feel like you do yet. I know this seems silly, but it does matter. It changes the way you perceive your future. It opens your mind up to what's available to you instead of being stuck in what you feel like you're stuck in. The other day I was listening to something and they said, don't say I've got to go to work. I get to go to work. Don't say I've got to work out today. I get to work out today. There are people that are not able to do the things that you may find frustrating that are going to move you forward. So change the way you talk to yourself in those moments.
It makes a difference, because when you apply this principle, it frees you to overcome the failures that you need to experience in order to find success.
Yes, there's no such thing as an overnight success. There's a lot of failure that happens along the way. There's a lot of challenges that happen along the way. And that's why it's so important. I'm one of those people that, when I talk to clients and they're going, oh man, I'm just so far behind. I'm like, me too. It's okay. I didn't know any of the things that I know now until I started working here at GenWealth in my mid-30s. I'd just gone through a divorce, so finances were not in great shape. But I had the opportunity to learn things through financial coaching here with our team. And everybody on this team has taught me something, I feel like. But because I was open to the coaching, I've been able to make great strides towards my goals that I probably wouldn't have on my own, if I'm just being honest.
Yeah. And here's the thing that you have to start today, right? And why is that? Because
you're top of mind awareness. Anything that you think to yourself, man, I'd really like to get this done. That same day, you need to make progress. Even if it's 1% progress. Because 1% every day adds up over time.
That's right. And the other thing is that you don't have time to lose, right? Every single day that you wake up, you're going to experience challenges, right? So by changing that mindset, by applying that principle, right, and accepting the failures that you need to experience in order to achieve success, that will only make you closer to to that success, to that objective that you're looking to achieve.
And it may be that your first step is forgiving yourself for those past failures so that you can move forward. Because I think we spend a lot of time in shame, financial shame. I mean, how many people come in the room and they go, oh, you're gonna tell me I screwed up. And you're like, well, no, I don't really care what you did before. I care what you do going forward. Because we can't control what we've already done. We can control what we do going forward.
Exactly. So, I mean, that almost sounded like your 2 cents, but let me ask. So what are your 2 cents on this?
I would just say if 2022 was a bully for you like it was for me, let it go. Just move on, make some adjustments for this next year. For me, one of mine is refilling that emergency fund. And it's going to be little by little. I got kids playing sports and things, so there's a lot on the budget. But 1% progress per day until you get there.
No. And if you found success in 2022, kind of like Teresa did with her emergency fund, then re-up, right? Just like she did, and keep going and share the success that you've found with others. All right. So that's it for us today on Talking Sense. Thank you so much for joining us. And don't miss out next time when we talk about when you should start and stop different habits in your financial life.
Thanks for listening to the Talking Sense podcast. And if you like what you hear, make sure to subscribe to the podcast to get all the newest episodes.
The GenWealth team is available to you 24/7 at info@getreadyforthefuture.com or call our offices at 866-653-PLAN. That's 866-653-7526.
And while we like to have fun here, we're also financial advisors, and that means disclosures. You should personally consult a financial advisor before making any investment, and no strategy can assure success.
GenWealth Financial Advisors is an Arkansas registered investment advisor with securities offered through LPL Financial, member FINRA SIPC.